Awesome. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. If you stumbled upon this session, I'll be going over who we are, who IBM is, a little history lesson for those of you that don't know us too well, and also what we're up to today. And I'm joined here by Heather, who will help answer questions after the presentation. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Diana. Thanks again for joining me today. So I'm excited to connect with you to talk more about IBM. This is me in the middle, if you can see right there, under the B. And this was me at Grace Hopper 2019, when we were able to have face-to-face interaction with over 25,000 people at a conference center in Orlando. And if you have not heard of Grace Hopper before, it is the largest gathering and celebration of women in computing. And why I bring this up is because diversity and inclusion is a huge part of who we are at IBM. So I'll be going over that in a little bit. I've been with IBM for about 2 years now, and I'm the campus talent acquisition lead. So I oversee our internship and co-op programs. So if I talk in a little bit more in depth about student hiring and early professional hiring, that's kind of my main domain, but Heather will be able to help answer some few questions at the end when we have time for Q&A for specifically on cybersecurity and also for professionals. So let's dive into who we are. So tell me, what does this brand mean to you? Just give it a quick second to think about, what does this brand IBM mean to you? Just use 1 or 2 words and feel free to put it in the chat. We'll give it about 10 to 15 seconds until we see a few different answers. Also remember, there's no right or wrong answer, so feel free to share whatever you think. For example, we've had innovation in the past, collaboration, lots of different words, whatever you think of when you look at the brand IBM. So feel free to put that in the chat, and we'll give it about 10 to 15 more seconds. Okay, so I think there's a little bit of a delay coming through. So as an example, innovation is a large part of who we are at IBM. So that's one of the words that we've seen. Collaboration, also very important for us. Agile, design thinking. These are some of the words that you might come across when you just quickly search IBM on Google. But I want you to think about the word that you have in mind right now, and then see how that word may change after the presentation. So IBM shapes the way the world works. What do we mean by that? And when we say this, and I'll give you a few examples, think about the different sectors and the industries that IBM is touching on a day-to-day basis. So we're in finance, healthcare, education, and so much more. But you might not see us directly in front of you as a product or service until some of these examples that I will share, because a lot of the things that we do at IBM is behind the scenes and supporting the technology. So let's see here. These are 109 years of how we have contributed to world-changing progress. So let me just pick out a few different examples. And if you have an idea on who here can guess what was one of IBM's very first inventions, most of you might not think of what I have in mind. So to give you a hint, this dates all the way back to early 1900s. So you might think, I don't know what kind of technology was really innovative back then, but you probably would have never guessed or thought that it it was a meat and cheese slicer. That was one of the first inventions back in 1900s. So we have definitely evolved over the past few years. And the products that we've made in the past few years have been very, very evolutionary. So let me point out a few examples here. So I'm sure you have all swiped your credit card or your debit card at stores. And when you flip to the back of the card, do you know there's that magnetic stripe? That technology was invented by an IBMer. And maybe not so much in the past year because of most of us couldn't travel, but if you've ever booked your plane ticket using Air Canada app in the past couple years, and did you know that that was supported by an IBM technology? So you'll see a few other examples on this slide where IBM was at the forefront of these products or technology, but you might have never thought, oh, you know, that magnetic stripe that you see on a day-to-day basis on your credit card or your debit card was actually an IBM technology in the back end. And this is why when we say IBM shapes the way the world works, you may not see it in your eyes, but we are embedded in many products and services. And also it's not just within one industry, but in numerous sectors like finance, healthcare, and much more. So now that I've talked about 109 years of world-changing progress, a lot of you might be thinking, so what are they up to now? You know, we're in 2021. That's great that you've done all this other stuff. So what's going on now? We're continuing to make these changes by helping the world's biggest businesses through AI, so artificial intelligence, quantum computing, blockchain, cloud services, and much, much more. But once again, you might not see the tangible products or services right in front of you, but a lot of the IBM offerings are more on the behind the scenes. So I urge you to think about next time you use a product or services to see if that potentially has an IBM technology embedded in the back end. For example, the Air Canada app. I hope that next time you are booking a flight using the Air Canada app that you think about us. So back in 2019, we have made 77.1 billion worldwide revenue. So these are large, large numbers. So we have a large footprint and we are in almost 90% of the world, which means we're in 170 countries out of 195 countries. So we have a very big footprint, and this also makes us the biggest tech employer in the world, and we have a global impact that we're able to make. So being able to work for a global company, you're not just, you know, making impact within your geography, but you could have a larger impact within the world. And if you have heard this saying of IBM's best invention is the IBMer. You might hear that, you might have read that in an article or see that quote kind of floating around in different places. And that's because our previous CEO, Jeannie Rometty, said IBM's best invention is the IBMer. And what we mean by that is none of these achievements that I mentioned would have been possible without any of the IBMers all working collaboratively together. And I also want to urge you, if you are an early professional or a student, that just because we're a technology company doesn't mean technology or technical background or technical skills are the only type of people that work at technology companies. So for example, myself, I'm in talent acquisition, so a large branch of human resources. I do not have a technical background, but I work for a technical company. So if you are in a business program or a program that is not related to tech, that is absolutely okay. And I would definitely strongly open you to think about why are you interested in technology versus I'm a business major or a marketing major, so I don't really see myself in tech. And also, There are non-technical IBMers like myself beyond HR, as I mentioned, marketing or finance, also sales. There's a lot of roles, and we all play a different and unique role at IBM. So again, if you're studying non-STEM programs, that is completely okay. We would love to see non-technical entry level or professionals or students to take a look at technology in general. So let's shift back again to some more history lessons. So when you look at this slide, you're going to notice that there's a lot of different facts and milestones that IBM has achieved over the past few years. And when you look at the first point here, in 1899, first woman and first Black employees. And if you go all the way to 2020, it is not on this slide, but back in June of 2020, IBM has decided to step away from facial recognition technology in light of recent events that has happened within the Black community. So as you can see here, we have a really long history of diversity and have always been a leader in this space. And to also have a small plug-in and to support this claim that we have been a leader in diversity and inclusion, we were actually announced as one of Canada's best diversity employers for 2021. And this is our third title in a year. So when we say that we've been leaders in the past and we continue to be leaders, we have had industry support this claim for us. So we are honored and happy to have had this title. But when I talk about diversity and inclusion, just look at the amount of different milestones we have achieved in the past. And I also would like you to think about this moving forward as something that if you're looking for a career change or potentially moving to a different job or a role, and diversity is something that is important to you, you should keep this slide in mind. And now that we've gone through a little bit about who we are at IBM, let's talk about you and potentially careers at IBM. And I will be touching mainly on early professionals. So if you're a student looking for an internship or a co-op, but that said, all of our roles are currently posted on our careers page. So you can feel free to check them out at any time. And we will also be at our lounge space later this afternoon. So stop on by if you have questions that are very specific that you would like to ask. You can always catch us there in the lounge space later this afternoon at around 1 o'clock. So these are the main type of roles that you may see and some of the categories that you will notice. So data scientist, designer, developer, sellers. These are very large, broad categories that we hire in, but within these large umbrellas, there are smaller roles tucked underneath all of them. So what I mean by that is, for example, when I say developers, there's front-end developers, back-end developers, there's technical support, cognitive developers. So there's quite a range of the different types of developers, and same with designers. There could be user experience designer, design researcher, visual designer, content designer. So there is quite a lot of range. And data science is still kind of broad in terms of what we hire, but sometimes business analysts could also fall into that. And sellers. So we have all these awesome IBM technology. And so we need people to be able to sell these technology to our clients and be able to consult them with what we have to offer. So there's also sales as part of our hiring. And again, I am mainly focusing on the early professionals and students, but it is pretty parallel for professional hiring as well, that these are the main areas that we are hiring for. So keep an eye out on our careers page again. I would urge you to take a look at the careers page and filter them. So use the toggle function to filter by internship or entry level or professional. So internships are very much reserved for students. So if you have already graduated from university or college, you should be looking at entry level or professional hiring roles. And if you're a student, you shouldn't be looking at entry level or professional roles, but on the flip side, you should be looking at our internships or co-op positions. And so once you take a look at our careers page and think, okay, this is the job that I think I'm interested in, design researcher, that sounds like I have the right qualifications. Now, what do you do? So based on the role, it's a little bit different on what our process may look like. Once you have your application ready, you will submit your application, and you don't have to do much after that. There's not too many questions. You upload your resume, and it is the waiting game after that. But rest assured, we do not use technology to filter people out using keywords. A lot of misconceptions out there that there is a AI on the back end. If you don't use those keywords, your resume is not going to get picked up. So that's actually a myth. Maybe some other companies use that, but at IBM, it is every single recruiter will go through every single applications. And that's why sometimes there is a large delay, because sometimes we get hundreds of applications. And so it takes a while for us to go through every single resume. So once we go through your application with your resume attached, based on the role, the first next steps will vary. So just keeping in mind that you may or may not move to this particular next steps. But in general, the first thing you'll be prompted with is an online assessment. So we want to get to know you a little bit better, see how your problem solving and your critical thinking skills are. So you'll be prompted with an online assessment. It's actually pretty fun. It's 20 minutes. It's gamified. So you'll be asked a few different questions. And this is a quite easy way for me to describe it is, for example, if you see a circle as a shape, a triangle as a shape, and a square as a shape, and then again, circle, triangle, square. And then the question could be, what is the most logical next shape? So that would be circle, since it repeated quite a few times. So as an example, that's the type of questions you may get. So it is not something to worry about, nothing you need to prepare for. And it is 20 minutes, so it goes by pretty quick. Once you start, you cannot stop, so you will have to do it in one sitting. So don't try it on your phone and think, okay, I don't have time, I have to go to class, or I have to go back to work, and let me just continue this later. So I would recommend that you sit down on your laptop or your computer and start the process there, since it's one time only. So after you had a little fun playing this 20-minute game, again, based on the role you've applied to, this is where you can branch off into multiple different next steps. So the general next steps, if you're applying for a developer role, so if you're applying for a front end, a data scientist, whatever it is that requires technical skills, you'll be prompted to take an online technical assessment. So again, this is one time only. Once you start, you cannot stop, but we will give you more than 20 minutes, and it is not gamified. So it's about 2 hours, and you're given a large chunk of time, but most times candidates have said that they didn't have to sit through the whole entire 2-hour process. So if you finish early, that's great, but you won't be able to go beyond the 2-hour time frame that we allot for you. So this is on HackerRank platform. So if you've used it before, pretty easy. You just log on and you do the test. And once you submit your coding assessment, then it will be about 2 weeks before you may potentially move on to next steps. And again, we are not just looking at, how did this person do on the coding test? Did they pass or fail, or did they get 100% or 50%? That's not how we calculate or assess if you will be moving on to next steps. So again, bear with us, because we're looking at a holistic view. going back to your resume and looking, okay, this person has the necessary skills, and this person completed the online coding assessment and also did the gamified cognitive assessment. And we put all of that information together before we decide if you'll be moving on to next steps. So it may take a little bit of time, but just rest assured that your application is being looked after. The best place for you to keep up to date is, instead of emailing us and asking us, hey, where am I in the process? Take a look at your candidate portal. We keep you updated all the way through the process. So you'll get updates on saying interview or online assessments or whatever it may seem. And then we will be moving on to interview at this point, once you complete the coding assessment. So when it comes to interviews, again, pretty different based on the role, but for internships or entry level, typically you'll be going through 1 or 2. And of course, for professionals, you most definitely will be going through more than 1. Either 2 or even potentially 3, based on how senior the role may be. And at this time with COVID, everything is virtual and online, so you don't have to worry about coming into our office or any type of interview process where you need to meet someone face to face. So everything is offered virtually. So after the interview part, and again, based on the role, your interview will look a little bit different, but I would recommend that you, if you're in a technical role, that you brush up on some of your coding skills. You could be asked to do a whiteboarding session or a code pair through HackerRank, or it could be just behavioral questions, or it could be a little bit of both based on what your role is and the hiring team is looking for. And when we talk about behavioral questions, we really want to make sure that you would be the right fit for the role that we're looking for, and that you have the interest and the passion in terms of what IBMers have and would like us to have. So I've mentioned design thinking and agile in the past. These are some key qualities and pillars at IBM. So if you have those, by all means, highlight them during your interview. But interview is really for us to get to know you, and for you to also get to know IBM and who we are and the team that you'll be working with. So make sure to ask as many questions as you have so that you have a good understanding of who we are. And after this third portion of interview, it is the decision time, and we can't always give offers to everybody. So regardless of you moving forward or not, we will notify you if you do have an offer. And if you do not, we'll also let you know. So again, the best place for you to find this out is on your candidate portal, but you will also be receiving emails throughout the process to prompt you. And I will mention that the best way to not lose any of this is, once you get your first email, mark us as your contact so that it doesn't end up in junk or spam. And we have had this before where we don't hear from a candidate, we keep following up, and it turns out all of our emails ended up in their junk or spam folder. So just mark us as your contact, and you should be able to get it straight into your inbox. So once all of this has been done and you receive an offer, congratulations. We hope that you pick to join us as a fellow IBMer. But once the offer decision has been made, and if you accept your offer, everything again at this time is virtual. So we will ship the laptop to you, and you'll be onboarding virtually, so that we'll be able to set you up for all of the different materials and assets that you need. So you don't have to worry about coming into the office. We're still almost all of us at IBM are working from home, except for essential workers that may need to be in the office. So I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions that has come through to us.
We have a lot of really great questions, Diana. Why don't I just read some of them off and let you answer them?
Sure.
Okay. So first question, do students who join IBM get any support to develop their own business ideas as well?
Okay. I wouldn't say there is a direct support system per se, but if you do have an idea, you also have to think about the IP policy and the confidentiality form that you will be asked to sign. So anything you create will belong to IBM while you're an intern at IBM. So that's something for you to think about. And even if you're doing it on the side, if you are an IBM employee, that idea will technically still belong to us. So I would be careful with that piece. And that's why there isn't a direct, I would say, support for someone to be an entrepreneur while they're working at IBM. But that being said, if you have seen recently in the news on the amount of patents IBMers have produced over the past few years, it's phenomenal. The numbers are insanely large. And a lot of times people have said, I had no idea that IBM did that. So you definitely have a lot of support to be able to be creative innovators. But something for you to keep in mind is that if you are an IBM intern, all that information technically, once you sign the IP policy, would belong to IBM.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Diana. And as Diana mentioned, IBM, we've actually led in the number of US patents for the past 27 years, if I recall correctly. So it is quite a phenomenal accomplishment and something that IBM is very proud of. We have some IBMers who have over 200 patents to their names individually. So next question. Is the intern program specific to students in computer science? I am studying psychology and am self-learning coding. Could I apply?
Yes, absolutely. And that is also another myth. Sometimes you'll see on the job description that under the preferred qualifications, it's a student currently pursuing a computer science or a software engineering program or a degree. That's because typically that's what you learn all day, every day while you're in school. But that being said, we're not really looking for your program. So if you're in psychology and you're self-teaching coding on the side, that speaks volumes to us because you're doing something beyond just your school program. And that shows that that's your interest and your passion. So I would make sure that if you are in psychology, but doing coding, make sure you highlight that you're self-teaching coding on the side so that we don't think, oh, this person is in psychology. That has nothing to do with this, data science that they're applying for. But when we see that you have the coding knowledge, it doesn't matter if you're in psychology or software engineering. So I would strongly recommend that, yes, if you are in a non-technical program, but interested in applying for a technical role, just make sure you highlight that on your resume so that we can clearly see that you have those tech skills.
Thanks, Diana. And, timing is everything. I just happened to be talking with a colleague of mine yesterday or the day before. She lives in Australia and she's been with IBM for 23 years, if I recall correctly. But she started out, her undergrad was in psychology, but then she eventually made her way to IBM and for the past several years has specialized in cybersecurity. And you may not think that there's a correlation, but there really is, because a lot of what goes on in cybersecurity, there's a huge human factor to it. And in some of the roles in cybersecurity, it's actually really critical to understand how the human brain works and how people think. Right. And the interesting thing is she's now gone back to do a master's in psychology, and she's finding it very interesting, kind of putting her two passions together formally at this point in her career. So all that to say that we have people at IBM with all sorts of backgrounds. So I encourage everybody to apply. As Diana said, you don't have to have a computer science degree or be in a computer science program. It's absolutely a misconception. I myself have a business degree and a degree in French. So, and here I am.
That's a great point.
Okay, next question. As an intern, do you also provide mentorship opportunities?
Yes, absolutely. So your first mentor is your hiring manager, and they are very much aware. And most of our hiring managers have hired interns for many, many cycles. So they have had interns in the past. So it's not new for them. And so they are your first point of mentor. But as an intern at IBM, we use a platform called 10,000 Coffees, where we match you with another IBMer with similar interest and backgrounds. So you will be, as an intern, filling out a form that tells us a little bit about who you are, what you're interested in. Maybe you want to learn more about cybersecurity as well as get career advice. Or maybe you're also interested in communications and professional development. So you can let us know, and then the IBMer will do the same thing. And there's a huge pool of interns and IBMers, and the platform uses different AI machine learning algorithms to match people based on their interest and background. So you will be getting on a virtual coffee chat with this person, and it's supposed to start as a casual networking that will ultimately lead into mentorship, as well as getting career advice and also learning more about who's out there at IBM that, especially given it's virtual, you don't get to stumble upon IBMers at the office. And this is a North America wide program. So you could meet someone in our Silicon Valley lab, even though you could be based in Toronto, and vice versa. A Texas intern could match with someone in our Fredericton office. So it is an awesome way for you to not only network, but also potentially find your next mentor.
In case anyone is listening from outside of North America, can you comment on mentoring opportunities or, pairing up of buddies out, in other countries? Diana, are other countries, implementing similar programs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every IBM location is a little bit different in terms of internships and mentorships, but I would say that pretty much every intern at IBM is matched with either their hiring manager as a mentor or a team lead within the team, or even potentially another intern, but they were here quite a while before you. So they would have some previous historical knowledge about IBM and the work that you potentially could do. So yes, any intern at IBM has some sort of support through some sort of mentorship program. It'll just look different based on the team and the geo.
Okay, next question. Has COVID-19 impacted this process? And by this process, I assume, I think this came in when you were talking about the application process, Diana.
Okay. Yeah, the only difference is that we used to have some in-person interviews and some large-scale interview events. That has all become virtual. That's the only difference that we've had. So we've been very lucky and fortunate that most of our process were virtual anyways to begin with. So we didn't have to pivot too much in that sense. So yeah, the only difference would be the interview piece that used to be in person. Some of them were already virtual anyways.
Thank you. And then, I'll just add that when it comes to onboarding, if you're fortunate, you make it through, get an offer and you accept our offer, what has changed is onboarding, because obviously you're not able to work in an office. You're going to join us and work remotely. Mm-hmm. So we have as a company, gone to great lengths to make sure every new employee is partnered up with a buddy, even so that you can get to know someone at IBM and get to know a bit about the company before you even start your job, right? Yeah. So, and I know the feedback on that has been really, really terrific.
Yeah.
here's a question. Are your programs specific to Canada? Would I work through you to find an international opportunity with IBM?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so this would be specific to Canada. The biggest thing for us is that we don't sponsor visas for our internship or any type of work at IBM Canada. So you would have to have the right work authorization. So if you're tuning in from outside of Canada, then you would look for your specific geographical location if they have an IBM office. And we actually recommend you to do that. So for example, our Canadian students that say, I want to go to the US and I want to get my internship there, we recommend that they look internally within Canadian office first before they try to look at opportunity outside of Canada. So I would recommend that you look at your own country's internship first. And if you still have an interest in working in Canada, you would have to work on your work visa since we won't be sponsoring that.
Thank you. And sorry, did I ask this question? Can you explain the journey of an intern to becoming a full-time employee at IBM?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we love to keep our interns and we would love for them to come back to us as a full-time employee. So this, you would have to really work with the hiring team or your current team if you're an IBM intern. So for example, if I work for Heather and she is my manager and I'm an intern, I need to have that conversation with Heather to make sure that she is planning to hire a full-time employee once my internship is over. And of course, if you perform well, then I would hope that Heather as a manager would like me to stick around versus having someone completely new. So it's not that, you know, if you're an IBM intern, you automatically get a full-time offer. It's really based on, does your team have the full-time hiring demand that they need once you graduate? But if you are a graduating student and in an internship, either at IBM or another company, more and more you'll notice that companies are giving out full-time offers before you return to your final year of university. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you're in your third year and your internship is over this summer, for example, at IBM, if we decide that you will be getting a full-time offer, we'll give it to you before you go back to school in September. That way you don't have to look for a job in your fourth year, your last year of university. But again, that's conversation that the interns need to have with their hiring manager and the team to see if they are looking to hire someone full-time about a year from when your internship is over. And if they are not, that's okay. There's other teams within IBM who may not have an intern, but are looking for full-time hires within a year from now. So we do prioritize our interns when it comes to our full-time hires for entry level.
Thanks, Diana. Next question. Do you partner with academic programs as well? I study at Mohawk and I'm wondering if you are affiliated with our programs. So I'll answer first and you can add on, I'm sure, to this, Diana. As academic and talent outreach program manager for IBM Security, I can say, yes, we absolutely partner with academic programs around the world. Here in Canada, we partner with many schools, and Mohawk actually happens to be one of them, with one school with whom we have partnered around the cybersecurity program specifically. Anything to add, Diana?
Yeah, and if you are thinking that you're interested in applying to IBM but worried that your school is not affiliated or there's no partnership, it's okay. Like, we don't need a partnership for you to be hired at IBM as an intern. So feel free to take a look at our careers page and apply. Even if you don't see them on your school's career page, that's okay. Because most importantly, if you don't apply through our careers page, we never get to see that you even applied. So it doesn't matter if it's on your school's job board or not. Just take a look at our careers page and apply to whichever role would make most sense for you.
Okay. Next question. Do certifications and learnings done online, such as Coursera, hold much significance in a resume?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that if it is in a relevant field that you're applying for, I would certainly put that on, especially if it's an IBM badge potentially or a course that is offered by IBM. That would be really great to see. Especially that shows that you're passionate and interested and you go beyond your normal school curriculum to learn more. So it definitely wouldn't hurt.
I'll actually jump in and say that in IBM security specifically, over the past few years, we have placed a lot of significance on what we call our new collar program. And what new collar means is we focus on skills first, not degrees alone. And so we absolutely look at all that, self-training, any courses you've done online. And in fact, we have IBM security courses available on Coursera right now. And so I encourage you, if you're looking for cybersecurity learning opportunities, go check out our IBM cybersecurity foundations course. I think it's called, I forget the exact name of it, but it's a four-part series for which you can earn a badge at the end. So, and I will say that over 50% of our open positions right now, I'm told, in IBM security do not require a university degree. So not to say that degrees don't still have their place and they're not valuable and important. It just means that to get an entry-level job at IBM, you don't necessarily need a degree to enter our workforce. We have many entry-level positions that don't require a four-year degree. However, once employees join us, many go on to then, to earn degrees part-time. It's just that, often people can't afford to go to university right out of high school. And so being able to, get an entry-level position without a university degree and start earning a living then enables many people to pursue a degree part-time. All right, I'm just looking here to see if we have any more questions, Diana.
Here we got 4 more minutes left. If you have any burning questions, make sure you ask us, or again, we'll be at the lounge at 1 o'clock this afternoon, so you can come join us there as well.
All right. Do you see opportunities for people with degrees in environment and urban sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. As we both mentioned, Heather and I, that the degree part is not, what's most important, where we think, oh, this person has environment and sustainability, so they must be good for this role versus someone else in psychology or whatever it could be. If you're in environment and you're looking for a particular job that is not within that field, as long as you have the skill sets, that's what's most important. But another thing to think about is, because we're in so many industries and sectors, you could potentially work in a more of a client facing that is within the environment sector and industry, but your job could be kind of all over the place. It could be a consultant, it could be a seller, or it could be a developer. So I would say that instead of thinking, what will this degree do in terms of what job I can get, think about what kind of role are you interested in, and get those skills that you need to get that kind of job.
Thank you. I will just add also that we do have a corporate social responsibility team, and if you go check out ibm.org, you'll see that the environment and sustainability programs are actually that's a focus area for our corporate social responsibility team. So you might want to go explore that. All right, let's see if we have time for one more question that we haven't answered here. I'm not seeing any more questions right now that I don't think we've answered.
Okay. All right. Well, then we can wrap it up here. Thank you, Heather, for joining me and helping me with the questions. And also thank you to everyone that were able to join us today to learn a little bit more of who we are, what we do at IBM. And I hope you remember some of those examples that I shared on where IBM's technology touches your everyday, day-to-day lives. And now that we're wrapping up, think about that word that you potentially thought about in the beginning when you looked at the brand IBM at the beginning before you heard about us and knew more about us today, and see if that word has changed since you've learned a little more about who we are at IBM today. So I would recommend that you think about that and see what those changes are and why that has changed. And we'll be sure to be at the lounge again at 1 o'clock. So come join us if you have any more questions.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Diana. And just so everybody understands, in case I missed any questions and we didn't get to them, as Diana said, feel free to come visit us between 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern time in our IBM Security Lounge space. You'll also find information there about how to apply to IBM. You'll find information about some of our learning resources as well. And I'll be there to answer questions about cybersecurity skills specifically and IBM learning resources that are available to you for free.
Awesome.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.